Steph, thanks for clicking. This is my fourth update for Projects in Panning, a Dungeons & Dragons Project Pan. This was created by Allie of Wonder and Alleyland, and this is a Fantastic Ladies collab that was inspired by Dungeons & Dragons, but it was made much more user-friendly in the panning version. There are 5 categories that you pick a prompt from. You have the race, class, location, monster, and a wondrous item. As you finish your goals for each of those, you get to roll in something new from that same list. You choose your goals however you want to, and I decided to add an element of storytelling. So it's just kind of a fun brain exercise for me, and it's a motivation as I figure out how these things go together into a cohesive story, and I get to find out what happens next each update along with all of you. Speaking of that story, let's recap. Elyas Reedgrove was a halfling rogue who came home from his favorite tavern very early in the morning to find his wife frantic and their house demolished. Their daughter Orani had been kidnapped by a dragon and taken into the Forbidden Forest as a tribute for Tiamat. Elyas went after his daughter, taking with him the Deck of Illusions to help. And it did help. He managed to use the Deck of Illusions to distract Tiamat long enough to sneak past her into her hoard of treasure, and he found his daughter Orani. Orani wasn't alone. She had a captive friend named Loraphine Nightflower, an elven bard. Loraphine took with her from the treasure trove the Bloodwell Vial because it felt evil and felt that the evil queen of the dragon shouldn't be allowed to have something so powerful. They fled through the Forbidden Forest, but one of Tiamat's dragon guards saw them and gave chase. Orani was able to locate the entrance to the abandoned mine, where Loraphine and Elyas were able to take shelter and fight off the dragon, and they did manage to defeat it. Unfortunately for Loraphine, the victory was short-lived because she fell through the weakened floor of the abandoned mine and found herself in the Tomb of the Lost. There, she was immediately attacked by a beholder who used its paralyzing ray to hold her in place. So we need to find out if Loraphine and Elyas manage to find each other again, or does Elyas give up on Loraphine altogether and escape with his daughter? Can Loraphine escape paralysis and fight the beholder and find her way out of the Tomb of the Lost? And what exactly is she doing with this Bloodwell Vial? We have some answers this time. In the last update, I had met the goal on Loraphine's race, elf, but not her class, and you have to meet your goal on both of those things in order to roll in a new character, since both those are attributes of the same person. And I had been working on this Natasha Denona I Need a Nude Shadow in the shade Muse as a music-themed item for Bard. At the last update, I had 12 uses. I did get the other 4, so I got my goal of 16. And I'm glad I got to use this shadow. This was my first experience with a Natasha Denona shadow. I do like it. I don't, however, think it's necessary for me to run out and buy a palette for Natasha Denona. They are more expensive, and as much as I liked it, I don't think it's really worth the price point, but I'm glad I got to try it, and I'm going to keep this one. Elyas and Orani were both still in the abandoned mine, having not fallen through the floor into the Tomb of the Lost. And for the abandoned mine, it's a mineral-themed product. I was using this Au Naturel cream shadow in the shade White Quartz. At the last update, I had 6 of my 12 uses. I did get the other 6, so gold met on White Quartz. This is long discontinued. It doesn't last as long as it used to, but I am going to keep it in my collection and still use it when I feel the need to. Loraphine was in the Tomb of the Lost, having been separated from her new friends. And for the Tomb of the Lost, you're to work on something that you forgot that you had in your collection. And so I managed to remember that I forgot that I had this perfectly posh hot pepper shebang skin stick. This has a warming effect for sore muscles. It's not as potent as when I bought it a couple years ago, but there is still a little bit of a gentle warming effect. My goal was to use this 10 times. So far I've used it 2 times. So Loraphine is in fact still in the Tomb of the Lost. Loraphine was unfortunate enough to encounter a deadly beholder, and she's helpless as she's paralyzed by its paralyzing eye ray. For a beholder, it's an eyeshadow palette, and I have this, I can't pronounce the name because it's in French, palette. This is a very old palette. It was actually from my mom. I don't know anything about this brand. Honestly, this palette might be older than I am, but I was the first person to use it. My mom never did. And it's just a little quad here. All of those shades are matte. And my goal was to use this No Pan Left Behind, which is dictated by the prompt beholder. But I would put a little bit twist on it because it's just a quad. And every time I No Pan Left Behind this, I get to roll a d20, and it gives Loraphine a chance to throw off the paralysis. So I only managed to use this No Pan Left Behind 1 time. I used each shade once. I actually used both the browns twice, but it's still only 1 No Pan Left Behind for the palette. And so now I'm going to roll a d20 and see if Loraphine gets lucky enough to free herself of the paralysis. In order to escape the paralysis, Loraphine needs to roll a saving throw of 16 or higher. So I rolled a d20, and you add the roll to her attribute score. Her attribute was really high, it was 16, which was my goal for Bard. And so the bonus that she gets from that is +3. So the roll +3 has to be at least 16 in order for her to escape. Let's see if she pulls it off. Ooh, she rolled a 16. So 16 plus 3 is 19. So she does manage to escape the paralysis of the beholder, which means that I have met my goal for beholder and I get to roll in a new creature or encounter of some kind. And Loraphine has been holding on to the Bloodwell Vial after stealing it from Tiamat. The Bloodwell Vial is something used to make sorcerers more powerful, so it's not all that useful for a bard, but it's represented by a red product. I've been using this red lip crayon. There's no brand on this anymore. It rubbed off and I don't remember what it was. It was a drugstore product though. And my goal was to use this 10 times, and I had 5 uses at the last update. Today I am wearing it for the 10th total time. So Loraphine does make a decision on what she's going to do with this Bloodwell Vial that she stole. Elyas and Orani managed to find a safer way to get to the Tomb of the Lost so that they can help Loraphine. You usually can't trust a rogue, but I guess Elyas has a soft spot after they slayed a dragon together, and they managed to get down into the Tomb of the Lost. They were not, however, there before someone else came to Loraphine's rescue. Zelkilia is a half-elf barbarian, and she managed to get to Loraphine before Elyas and Orani did, and a half-elf is represented by a pencil. I have this Lord and Berry Silk Kajal Kohl pencil in the shade white, and so we're going to see how many times I need to use this in order to meet my goal for half-elf. I have my d20 to help figure out what the goal is for half-elf, and I have this bracketed out since higher rolls are better. If I roll a 20, I only need 1 use. A 16 through a 19 means that I have to use it 5 times. 11 through 15 is 10 times. 6 through 10 is 15 uses. And then lower than that would be 20 uses, unless of course it's a 1, and then I need to finish it. So let's see how many times I need to use it. I rolled an 8, which means that I have to use it 15 times. So it'll be a little bit of time yet, but I can meet that in a couple of months for the liner for half-elf. And Zelkilia is a barbarian, and for a barbarian, that's something that gives you strength. I don't know if it gives me strength, but it does give my eyeshadow strength whenever I use this MAC Prep and Prime 24-hour eyeshadow primer. And my goal is already determined for this one. I did this off camera because I don't have that many 6-sided dice. But for an attribute for barbarian, you roll 4 6-sided dice and you add the top 3 together. And so I got a 6, a 5, a 2, and another 2. So 6 plus 5 plus 2 equals 13. My goal is to use this eye primer 13 times for barbarian. Now Zelkilia is actually Loraphine's cousin. They have the same last name, even though one of them's half-elf and the other one is full-elf. Zelkilia is actually a renowned hero. She is affectionately known as Kill, and Loraphine is lucky to have her cousin coming to save her. On her way into the Tomb of the Lost, she managed to set off a trap that caused a landslide and killed the beholder, so they didn't actually need to fight it. Loraphine, of course, was quite relieved and relayed to her cousin what was going on, how she had been kidnapped by a dragon, and that she had stolen the Bloodwell Vial and managed to do this before Elyas and Orani catch up to them. They agree that perhaps the best thing to do with the Bloodwell Vial is to leave it in the Tomb of the Lost, where it can stay lost and no longer be an instrument of evil to Tiamat or anyone else. So Loraphine decides to hide it in a boot, which she hides in a bag that she puts underneath a skeleton, and no one needs to know that it's even there. Now, unlike Elyas and Loraphine, Zelkilia is a professional hero, so she knows exactly what you're supposed to do whenever you manage to defeat the monster in a dungeon. You loot it. So she manages to find a sword that she likes and straps it on. However, it's not a sword at all. It's a mimic. A mimic is a dupe product. They are very stealthy, and as long as they remain still, they can imitate inanimate objects very well, such as this sword. And for the prompt mimic, for a dupe, I have this Elaluz Sunriser primer in the shade Beamer. This is a dupe supposedly for the iconic London one, but it's cheaper. If you're hearing strange noises, that's my dog coughing. He's okay. I'm going to roll a die again to see how much use I need on this one. So it's going to be a stealth roll for the mimic. So whatever the mimic score is for the roll, plus it gets a bonus of 5 because they're very stealthy creatures. Here's my d20 and let's see how it goes. All right. I rolled a 12, and so a 12 plus 5 is 17, which means that I need to use this primer 17 times in order to roll it out and meet my goal on Mimic. Zelkilia does not stop her looting there. She manages to find something else that's of value, and she uses it before she ever encounters Elyas because she knows perfectly well that a rogue would want to take it from her, and she doesn't really want to be recognized given her notoriety. And it is the Hat of Disguise, which is a hair care product. So I have this Dry Bar Prep Rally Prep and Prime Detangling Spray, and my goal is going to be to use this 10 times for the Hat of Disguise. Elyas and Orani catch up with Loraphine, and they're glad they did whenever they find that she has another helper with her. And so our party is now up to 4. We've got the 2 halflings, that elf, and the half-elf. And so they're now going to see if they can find a way out of the Tomb of the Lost into safety so they can finally deliver Orani from her ordeal. In the next update, we're going to find out if Zelkilia Kill, the half-elf barbarian, manages to lead the group to safety out of the Tomb of the Lost. We'll find out if she notices that her new sword is not a sword but a mimic. And we'll find out if Elyas or anyone else recognizes who she is now that she's using the Hat of Disguise. Good luck to you guys in your quests, and I'll see you next month. Bye.